Okay, we're ready.
It's January 2025 and the Arch Manning era is officially here. Texas women's basketball is on fire right now while the men have just taken down their arch rivals from College Station in an electric finish. And we are set to go for Super Bowl 59 in a rematch between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. Buckle up because the sports world is booming right now. It's time to run it back here on College Crossfire.
All right, I'm going with classic, the 9-9-9. I'm going to do the 9 hot dogs, 9 beers, 9 innings challenge.
Need I say more? Need I say more? Need I say more at all?
From Costco specifically, I'm going to take 2 double chunk chocolate cookies, ice cream sandwich, but it's fried.
It's about to get hot in here, folks.
It's about to get hot.
Good evening to all our viewers tonight. I'm your host, Robert Gonsolin, and we've got a very exciting show in store for you. We have our first College Crossfire episode of the semester. Different time of the year, new sports to talk about, and everyone's point totals reset to 0. This is going to be exciting. But as always, before we begin, I want to share with you that today's show is brought to you by Cap Metro, Austin's transit system. We connect you to work, school, play, and everywhere in between, so plan your ride to this weekend's game at capmetro.org. All right, let's get into it. As always, we can't begin any show without introducing our contestants. I've got an elite group of people to the left of me right here. It's an exciting group to kick things off. So, on first base, we have a Premier League brainiac who's already planted his foot firm into the TSTV sports community. He's a strong advocate of the Arch Manning quarterback fan club. It's our very own Nolan Clay. Nolan, how's it going?
I'm doing good today. You know, my hand got cooked this week. That's a story for later. But the only thing getting cooked tonight is them too. So I'm ready to win this right now.
What happened to your hand?
I burned it. So, but that's, again, we're talking about that later. Right now, we're going to cook them.
Talking about it later, cooking his hand and cooking the contestants, as he says. In the middle seat, we have another freshman who made his mark last semester by making it all the way to the Tournament of Champions. He's a huge Steelers fan, and they may not have had the playoff run that they wanted to have, but his roster is showing some promise. It's Colin Flickinger.
You know, 2025, still a freshman, even though I'm a sophomore. This is I don't know. You made that mistake there in Tournament of Champions too, but I'll take it. It means I'll look young.
I'm sorry, Colin. First year at TSTV, though, I get a little mixed up on who's in what grade. You know, I'm so used to people joining as a freshman or sophomore, but we're happy to have you. And rounding it out on third base, it's our very own associate producer of this show, a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan, and Juan Davis fan, who is looking for his first win of the year. It's our very own Grabiel Silva. Grabiel, how's it going tonight?
I'm doing good, Robert. I wouldn't say diehard Cowboys fan after the recent success of this team, but diehard Juan Davis fan, you are correct about that. I know today it's going to be full of hot takes. Nolan's already getting cooked with his own hand. I know win or lose at the end of the day, I'm going to be enjoying some wings tonight.
All right.
Already thinking of a post-show meal. I can get on board with that. So, before we get in, after we've just introduced all y'all, we need to go over the rules as we always do. So in case you've never tuned in before, there will be 3 rounds with each one containing 3 questions. I'm going to dish out points to who I believe has the best answer in order of 3 points, 2 points, and 1 point. Whoever has the most at the end of the final round wins and gets to come back on for next week's show. However, there's still a catch. We must not forget that the third and final round, better known as the rapid fire round, is worth double the points, meaning the best answer will receive 6 points, 4 points, and 2 points. In the event that someone is tied with another contestant by the end of the rapid fire round, I'm going to have a tiebreaker question in my back pocket to dish out at the very end in order to have a winner. That's going to wrap it up for the rules. We know the rules. We know how we're doing this game. But y'all have all been on this show before. Let's get right into the meat of this show. Let's go with our first round. Starting the semester off, Texas is entering into a long-awaited era with Arch Manning taking the helm at starting quarterback. While Manning showed flashes of his high ability during his playing time this past season, the team itself is losing a lot of talent to the NFL draft. With that being said, what will the Longhorns' level of success be this upcoming season, and why? Nolan, I'll let you start this one off.
Yeah, like you said, the Longhorns are losing a ton of people this season, especially on the offensive line, in the wide receiver core, in the secondary, on the defensive line. It's worrying for sure. But I really trust the depth this team has. You know, guys like in the secondary, like Kobe Black, Jelani McDonald, I'm looking at them. I think they're going to have a great season this year. I think they're really talented. I'm looking at guys on the offensive line, Trevor Gooseby, DJ Campbell's still there. And then I just think Arch, I'm like you said earlier, I'm a huge Arch truther. I think this guy is the quarterback to take Texas to the national championship. The dimension he adds to this offense is crazy. He can run, he can extend plays. That's something that Quinn Ewers just could not do. He wasn't very mobile. So I think that this Texas team is going to compete for a national championship next year.
You know, you mentioned a lot of players there who will be back this season that will provide some experience on the team. You know, on defense, they're not losing as much as the offense is losing. You brought up Jelani McDonald, Kobe Black. There's also going to be Anthony Hill and Johnny Barron's gone, but Colin Simmons, he'll be back. And people are so confident in Arch that they also would agree with you that he will bring Texas a national championship. It's a matter of when. Colin?
You know, I think that the Texas offense has kind of lost its fastball. You know, you lose all your not all, but your wide receivers in Golden, Bond, you lose Gunnar Helm, and you lose your most explosive running back in Jaden Blue. And what ends up happening is you need to create new ways to score on offense when you do lose this much firepower. I'm not sure that we do have that right now, but the beauty of building a program like what Sark has built is that when you do eventually lose your players, you do have new guys. Like we got Khalil Lockett coming in this year. There's French is coming in, and it really does keep the whole train running. I'm not too worried about the defense. I think that the year might end up being a step back, but still a good year.
Definitely you bring up that recruiting class, the highest ranked one, class of 2025 with, you know, Khalil Lockett coming in, Jamie French. There's going to be a lot to look forward to with the newcomers going onto the team. It's just a matter of, you know, how effective will the team be with these new players? Like how fast will they get back to that level that they were these past 2 years? Grabiel, round this one off for us.
You know, all they did was talk about a lot of who we're losing, which is a pretty big point. We lost 4 out of 5 starters on the offensive line. We lost all those weapons out wide. A lot of offensive production, but it's going to be interesting to see who else this team's going to pick up in the transfer portal. Earlier today, we already picked up a new interior defensive lineman, so it's going to be interesting to see if Texas can continue to build on that transfer portal momentum now that the season's finally over. This team's going to need to pick up more and more weapons because it's going to be a lot to replace and a lot for underclassmen who are going to have to step up, obviously, but it's a lot for them to try to replicate that production that Golden, Bond, and Bolden had last year along with Gunnar Helm. So it's going to be interesting to see who can step up and provide that. And also with the offensive line issues, who's going to step up and be the starting 5 this year?
You know, it's a very good point you bring up right there, because Texas is losing a lot after this 2024 season, but people forget they also lost a lot in 2023, and that's why they brought in Isaiah Bond, Bolden, Bolden. But before 2023, they brought in Adonai Mitchell. You know, they brought in these players to fill gaps, even though there were new recruits coming in who were supposed to be, great players. And so it is interesting how much they will bring in with all this talent also coming at the helm. I do have to say, I do like, Nolan, I like your answer the most. People do believe in Arch Manning a lot, and the defense is losing less than the offense is. July McDonald, Kobe Black, Anthony Hill will be there. I'm going to give you the three on this one. Grabiel, I do like your take on the transfer portal. They are going to have to bring a lot of people in addition to taking these new recruits. So I do think that the transfer portal will be a big step for Texas and how they do this season. And Colin, you'll get the one right there. But that's going to be great answers all around for the first question. On Monday, the NBA released a new power ranking with the young Houston Rockets in second place. While this is obviously a high ranking, the other three of the top four teams all have a better record than Houston. Give your top four ranking of the current best teams in the league and the reasoning behind it. Colin, start this one out.
Well, first, I think you got to go with the Thunder. I mean, clear MVP, candidate leader, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think he's the best player in the NBA in current form right now. Mix him with Chet Holmgren, and that's just a killer combination. At number two, I have the Cavs. I think that Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland are a top three backcourt in the NBA right now. I see them being hard to stop once playoff comes around. Third, I'm actually going to go with the Knicks. I think that Knicks team is a complete buzzsaw. Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, and Cat are all top-tier players. And then to round it out, I think that the power of friendship and the Houston Rockets are the fourth best team in the NBA. I'm not sure that'll stay that way come playoffs, though.
Bringing in the New York Knicks, not quite the Villanova Knicks that they thought that they would have to be getting this season. They lost, they lost Dante DiVincenzo midway through the season. But, that Houston team, a young team, just trying to develop and get better, and right now it's working out for them. Grabiel?
I'm going to go with my top four of being Cleveland, Boston, Oklahoma City, and the Houston Rockets. Right now, the Cleveland Cavaliers have one of the best records in the NBA along with OKC, but I just believe that the Cavs are a little bit better of a team than OKC right now, as even though their records are very similar. Boston is still the defending world champions in the NBA, so until they're kind of like dethroned, I'm still going to have them up there at the top. OKC, they're still young. They had their issues in the playoffs last season, so it's going to be interesting to see if they can continue that role into the playoffs and try to push past like the Mavs or the Nuggets. And then finally, I'm going to have the Rockets, who really came out of nowhere, and it's exciting to see a young team like this, at the top of the league, but it's going to be interesting to see if they can actually keep it up.
As a Rockets fan, too, from Houston, I'm putting all bias aside, but as a Rockets fan, too, it's interesting to see, it's cool to see the success of the team right now, but it kind of feels like a balloon that's about to pop, It's going up in the air, and then you don't know when it's just going to lose all that helium inside, and it's just going to pop and just fall back down to the ground. You don't know if this success is true or if it's just some sort of fling that's going on right now. Nolan?
Yeah, I'm actually going to start from number 4. I got the New York Knicks at number 4. They just got a deep roster. Cat, Brunson, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, just good defense, led by their really good coach, and I love them a lot. And number 3, I have the Boston Celtics, the reigning champions, shooting for days. Obviously, they're led by Jason Tatum, Derek White, Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, just a deep squad again. Kristaps Porzingis, they're number 3. Number 2, I got the Cavaliers. They had the best shooting team in the league this season, led by Donovan Mitchell, just the second best offensive team in the league, just really impressive. And number 1, I got the OKC Thunder. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the best player in the NBA this season. They have depth for days. They got the best defense in the league, and I think they have a point to prove after losing in the playoffs last year to the Mavericks. So that's my top 4.
What's interesting about the Thunder here is that they seem like they have no weaknesses. Even with an injury on one of their top players, they seem to be one of the best teams in the league. I saw, I've seen jokes online where it's like, here are the top 5 teams in the NBA: the Thunder, the Thunder without Shea, then it's like the Thunder without Chet, so on and so forth. So it's interesting, how well this team can play depending on the dynamic. But I have to give the 3 here to Grabiel. I just think that you nailed the top 4 teams on the head the most. Cavs, Celtics, Thunder, Rockets. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that order, given that maybe you can put the Cavs ahead of Houston, but Houston did beat the Cavs twice recently, so it's interesting you put them at first, but you got the top 4 teams that I was looking for the most. I'm going to have to give the 2 here to Colin. Colin, it's interesting, I do think the Thunder, they are the best team in the whole entire league right now. I can see the 2, right? It's one of the best teams, like whoever's hurt and who's not. And then Nolan, give you the 1 right there. The Knicks, great team. It's going to be interesting to see how they pan out with the Celtics and the Cavs come playoff time. But that's obviously a few months away. So let's round out this block. One final question. So almost a week ago, TNT announced this season's NBA All-Star starters for the Eastern and Western Conferences. There are some familiar names on the list, including LeBron James, who will be making his 21st straight game appearance, and some first-time starters like Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. Who was the biggest snub from the starting lineup in your opinion, and tell me why? Grabiel?
I'm going to have to go with Victor Wembanyama. I don't believe he is a starter. The guy's been playing out of his mind lately, and unfortunately for him, he's stuck in a loaded Western Conference that's full of all the unks, LeBron, Steph, and KD. He's just behind all those guys. He's not going to win the votes over any of those guys. So he's kind of like, he's definitely going to be reserved for the game. It's just like kind of sad to see that a guy like Wemby, who's been playing out of his mind all season long, isn't going to get an all-star nod this season.
It's interesting. It's an interesting point you make right there, because no matter how much Steph or LeBron, no matter how well they play the rest of their careers, and they've played tremendous careers, some like the top basketball players of all time, they could play poorly if they chose to and would make every All-Star game and probably be starters for the rest of their careers. Nolan?
I'm actually going to go a different route right here. I'm going to go Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards, I think, should be a starter over Steph Curry. Steph Curry's a legend, but Steph Curry is not having a good season as Anthony Edwards. Steph Curry's known for his shooting. Anthony Edwards is actually shooting better from three-point this season on about the same volume as Steph Curry. He's carrying more defensive load than Steph Curry. Edwards, lots of the time guards, sometimes the team's best guard. He just had a better season than Steph Curry. I understand Steph Curry's going to win the fan vote every year when he's in the NBA, but I think Anthony Edwards has had a better season, and he's on a better team, and he has to play with Julius Randle, so he should get some points for that too.
Throwing some shade at Julius Randle, but going with Ant-Man from Minnesota, he's one of those players in the NBA right now who's, over the past couple of years, he's caught a lot of popularity. He's people love, just like his personal brand that he puts out. He's a fun player to watch. Colin?
I mean, if we're going to talk about guys who are doing it all for the team, I think you got to talk about Motorcade Cunningham. I mean, he's averaging 24.9 points, 9.4 rebounds, and 6.5 or 9.4 assists and 6.4 rebounds to kick. The only reason that the Detroit Pistons are even in the playoff picture, not even let alone not the worst team in the league, is because Cade Cunningham is bringing that team with him, kicking and screaming. He is, in my opinion, the most underrated player in the NBA, and the fact that he didn't get an all-star nod as a guard, I think, is a massive snub.
Cade Cunningham leading that Pistons team who, not having the best of seasons, neither were they having the best of seasons last year, but, mirroring the Rockets a little bit in terms of being one of the worst teams in the NBA just a season ago and now being one of the best teams. It's all about the development, and can the star player like Cunningham lead the Piston to brighter days ahead? I'm going to have to give the 3 to Nolan right here. I think Anthony Edwards, y'all both bring up points about the players like Curry and LeBron always getting a starting spot for the rest of their career because they're always just going to win the fan vote. But, Edwards, he's on a better team. He's playing better than Curry right now. I think he was the biggest snub. Grabiel, I like how you bring up Wembanyama. He's also having a phenomenal season. I just don't know if it's as good as Edwards right now. They play different positions, but he's having a great year. Needless to say, excuse me. Colin, you get the one right there with Cade Cunningham. Excuse me, it's going to take some time. But 3, 2, 1, that's going to wrap up the first block, and we'll be back in just a second.
All good, bro.
Wrong.
Welcome back into College Crossfire. We have a very close game right here. Nolan Clay and Grabiel Silva are both tied right now with 7 points. Colin Flickinger is behind him with 4, but we have still 6 total questions to go on tonight's show, so it's anyone's game. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk some college basketball. So starting things off, Texas women's basketball is off to a very hot start to 2025. They're currently 4-0 since their loss to South Carolina and are utilizing all their players very well on the floor. As the popularity and recognition for women's basketball has grown exponentially over the past 2 years, it still seems as if the Longhorns, consistently one of the best teams, have been overlooked by other star players in the sport. This season, athletes like Madison Booker, Rory Harmon, and Taylor Jones have the chance to change that narrative with a national championship on the line. Does this Texas team truly have what it takes to win it all? And if so, will they capitalize on that? I believe this one will start with Grabiel.
Yeah, Robert, I think they do have what it takes to win the national championship this year, or at least make it to the Final Four and make it to that title game. Their biggest test is going to be against South Carolina here in a couple weeks here in Austin. South Carolina's been kind of the team to beat in women's college basketball these last couple of years. Even like last year with LSU and Iowa, South Carolina was always there in the years prior. So depending on how they hang with this South Carolina team on a rematch at home on Super Bowl Sunday, unfortunately, it's going to be a key testament to how this team's going to play in the future to see if they're able to try and make a deep run when it comes to March.
I do think if they want to be able to beat those teams, they're going to have to play like they did against Tennessee. Colin?
You know, when I look at teams and I try to predict future success, I like to look at the depth on the team. And Texas has no shortage of depth when it comes to forwards, but when you look at their guards, it's Rory Harmon and who else? You know, Rory Harmon's the only guard averaging more than 10 points on the team. There isn't really another guard on the team who has consistently throughout the season been there and been able to take over games when needed. I just don't think that the Texas women's basketball team has enough to win the championship. I still think they'll make an Elite Eight or even probably a Final Four appearance, but when you come against teams like Notre Dame, that Texas played against earlier in the season, South Carolina, that lack of depth gets exposed, and so I think that's going to be a problem.
They definitely have had some lack of depth issues, especially like even that Notre Dame game, like you said. It's going to be interesting to see how they will play against some of those. Their second South Carolina game, for instance. Nolan?
Yeah, I agree with Colin a little bit on that. I don't think their depth is that much of an issue, but I do think like their roster. I think they have a roster that like on paper looks like a national championship roster. They got a scorer in Maddie Booker, facilitator and Rory Harmon. They got 2 defensive anchors in the center position, Taylor Jones, Kyla Oldeker. But when you look at the results, the two best teams they played this year, Notre Dame, South Carolina, they lost by double digits to both those teams. They've also had some like close games against non-ranked teams, against I think Ole Miss. Tennessee's ranked, but Tennessee took them down to the wire. when you see them match up against top competition besides Maryland, who they've blown out, I don't know if they have enough power to beat those teams, you know. And you got Paige Bueckers of UConn, Hannah Hidalgo and Notre Dame, Lauren Betts and UCLA. Can they compete with them? I'm not sure.
I would love to see a matchup between Texas's finest, Rory Harmon and Madison Booker, take on Paige Bueckers, take on Juju Watkins. It'd be a super fun matchup to watch. Because Texas, other than maybe Haley Van Lith or Dawn Staley's teams, that's all we've really seen Texas play in the past couple of years. If I may be forgetting some star players. But I have to agree with you, Nolan, the most. I think that Texas, they've played some great teams this year, and they've won some good games, but those best wins that they've had are super close, and their losses to the best teams that they've played, double-digit losses. So it's going to be close to see if they can get to the national championship, but I mean, emphasis on close. Colin, I have to give you the 2 on this one. You kind of reiterated the same points a little bit. That Notre Dame loss, that was a tough one for them. Grabiel, they have the talent, like you said. It's just if they want to, go all the way, they probably have to pick up the win margin by a little bit more. So, staying with college basketball, Texas basketball had a roller coaster of a month. Before the result of tonight's matchup, if we can get a score update on that pretty soon, they were 3-4 in January, but have beaten their 2 biggest rivals. People will have them projected to make the last 4 in or first 4 out of the NCAA tournament. Based on how the rest of the season goes, where will Texas be playing after the SEC tournament? Colin?
Well, I think that relies on not only the game tonight, but there's 4 ranked games coming up and then another game against Georgia, who used to be ranked. If they can win one of those games, then I think that they end up Texas wins the rest of their non-ranked games. Texas will end up being a last 4 in team. If they end up dropping all of those games or even one game against any of their unranked opponents, I don't think that this Texas team has the resume or the net rankings, KenPom rankings, to be chosen by the selection committee when it comes time to decide who's in March. And I think that all comes down to whether or not this team will be well coached, and I don't think it is. I don't trust the coaching staff of this Texas men's basketball team.
If they lose one of those unranked games, we're maybe looking at an NIT appearance. Nolan?
Yeah, I have a similar issues with the coaching. I think the offense can be a little bit stagnant at times. I think the defense has actually been kind of impressive lately, especially against A&M in certain stretches, against Missouri. I think, though, that this week in Longhorn basketball has been huge for them. I think if that win against A&M doesn't really spark the season, I don't know what will. You look at their schedule. They went through the toughest part of their schedule so far. I think the offense has struggled, but they have enough firepower with Trey Johnson, Tremont Mark, Arthur Kaluma, Jordan Pope. I think they have enough firepower to get themselves through. I look at their schedule, and I think, I think this team can get in the last 4 in, maybe even a 10 seed or something like that. I think they have enough momentum now where they can carry themselves into the tournament, and I do think we'll see them in March.
March is all about momentum and the best players coming to life when those teams need them most. Texas has a lot of firepower. Grabiel?
Yeah, like Colin mentioned earlier, this basketball team has 5 ranked games left, so it's a little bit of an easier road, after the, gauntlet of a beginning of an SEC schedule that they had. They have to win these unranked games, but along with these ranked games that they're going to be playing, they need to keep the margin very, very close. If they're getting blown out each and every night, losing by 15 plus, 20 plus, it's not a good look on the resume compared to if they lose by less than 10. So this basketball team needs to keep it really, really close. The SEC tournament could be a big bump in the road because that's a lot of good teams who also in the SEC are going to be trying to get into the tournament. And depending on how they do there, the Longhorns could be like a middle of the pack seed trying to get into the tournament, depending on how the rest of the season goes.
Other than that 2022-23 season, it kind of always felt like Texas was playing in the middle of the pack, if not on the lower seed in the Big 12 tournament. So this is kind of a similar theme we're experiencing here. Colin, I have to give you a 3 on this one. I feel like there's just a lot of unranked games coming up they cannot drop, but they've gotten over a huge hump right now. And Grabiel, you reiterated those same themes. It's just going to be interesting to see where will Texas be seated in the SEC tournament. But it's not where you're seated; it's where you're seated and how many games can you win from there. So I like the point you made there. You'll get the 2. Nolan will get the 1. So rounding on to our third and final question of our second block. We're now just 11 days away from arguably the biggest sporting event in America, Super Bowl 59. Everyone here knows the teams, their backstories, star players, so I'll spare you with all this background and get right to the point. Patrick Mahomes currently has 3 Super Bowl rings. He is without a doubt the best quarterback in the NFL during the current era, as he has had the most success. So, before we get into all the craziness of rapid fire, I need to ask you, if Patrick Mahomes wins on Sunday, does he become the greatest player of all time? Nolan.
I don't think so. And actually, no, I know he won't be. And that doesn't mean he can't be at the end of his career. I think there's a great chance at the end of his career, when it's all said and done, Mahomes will be recognized as the greatest player in NFL history. But when you look at the stats right now, the playoff wins, the rings, Brady has 7 rings. Mahomes has 3 right now. He could get his 4th. Brady has 35 playoff wins. Mahomes has 17, I believe, right now. There's still some big gaps there. And the thing that makes Brady so great is how long he was great for. That's the same thing for LeBron, Brady. They did it for so long. And if Mahomes can keep doing it for this long as Brady has done toward the end of his career, I think he will be easily the GOAT. But not right now. I think Brady still has that longevity. He still did it for so long. And I don't think that this Super Bowl win will get him over that hump yet.
Going with longevity over current success. Grabiel?
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit different. I think if he wins, he is going to be the greatest of all time. He's going to have a 3-peat already. Nobody in the history of the league's ever done that, unless you count the Packers before there was even a Super Bowl, before their back-to-back wins. You talked about Brady's longevity. Mahomes could potentially have 4 rings before he turns 30 years old, right? Brady had 3 before he turned 30. Brady didn't win another ring for like 10 more years after that, right? So if Mahomes keeps up this trajectory, he's going to blow Brady's rings out of the water. And I know people, the rings argument's not really the best argument, but he's probably on a path to surpass Brady before he even turns 40 right now, right? So if he gets that type of longevity, like Nolan said, with, Brady played till he was 45. Mahomes has 15 years to try to do the same exact thing. In 15 years, I think he can get 3 more rings. I think in that same amount of time, he could probably break all of Brady's records in the passing game as well. So I think that if he wins the Super Bowl against the Eagles, gets that 3-peat, he'll be considered the GOAT.
You took the pace route, on pace to surpass Brady at a much quicker rate. 4 rings before 30. Brady only had 3. Colin?
I think it's really a thing you got to wait and see. I don't think this one Super Bowl win will put him past Brady. I think one thing that's not talked about enough is Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes played 2 times in the playoffs, an AFC Championship game and a Super Bowl. Tom Brady won both of them. He gave Mahomes 66% of his playoff losses. He beat Mahomes when it mattered. And then if you look at any sort of statistical career stat or category for NFL quarterbacks, Tom Brady leads all the important ones. He leads touchdowns, he leads yards, he leads regular season wins. I think until Mahomes starts to get closer to him in both rings and regular season stats, you cannot compare Brady to Mahomes because Brady is just that much above.
Talk about that head-to-head matchup in the 2020 season. Super Bowl was played early 2021 when Brady beat Mahomes. That was kind of that matchup was kind of something for fans to hold on to. Okay, this is still our GOAT. But I do think that Mahomes is on pace to beat those records. We'll see what actually happens. I definitely think he could. We'll see. Y'all made this one very hard, and this is a question I was very excited to ask tonight. I have to give this one to Nolan because I think that longevity matters. I think it's important that you show you were so dominant in one era of your career with 3 rings. Fast forward 10 years where you didn't win a ring, and in that 10 years, you're still going to the AFC Championship and battling it out with Peyton Manning. And then you get back and you win 3 more rings against the next prospective GOAT. Grabiel, I'm going to give you the two. I really like what you said with, Mahomes is really on pace to beat Brady here. 4 weeks before 30 could be a lot. And if he does, I'm convinced that, Mahomes could and will be the GOAT because he's just going to keep on doing it. But after next Sunday, if Mahomes wins that Super Bowl, I don't think in the present moment that he will be the GOAT. But he will be on pace to win, and I think that could happen. So 3, 2, and then 1 for you, Colin. But great answers all around. Love that question. We could just hash that one out. That's gonna wrap that one. That's gonna wrap the block up. But when we get back, we have rapid fire coming up and lots of spicy questions to talk about, to go over. Let's give some hot takes. We'll be back in just a second. Welcome back into College Crossfire. We have a close one right now with Nolan Clay leading with 14, Grabiel Silva behind him with 12, and Colin Flickinger with 10. So as y'all know, this is still anyone's rap game to take with this final round, rapid fire. Double the points, double the pressure. Let's get right into it because it's about to get hot. So here we have our first question. Starting things off, we had WWE at the Moody Center and Hot Wheels Monster Truck Live in the past 2 weeks at that beloved arena for Texas men's and women's basketball. So I have to ask y'all this. With those two events, what should the Moody Center host next?
I would love to see the Moody Center host a rodeo like they have down in San Antonio. And out in Houston. I love rodeo. I love the fact that rodeo brings country music. I would love to be able to go to like a Parker McCollum concert and then watch the rodeo and then, just to see all that. I would absolutely love to see that.
Rodeo would be very cool. It'd be nice to, you get off of class on a Friday and go down and go right, like less than a mile away to the Moody Center and to go, enjoy a livestock show or go see a concert. Maybe I don't know where they're gonna do it, but would UT set up a carnival somewhere in the city of Austin? They could do that. That would be fun. That would be fun right outside the Moody Center.
All right, we all have an answer.
You want to go first?
Man, this is hard.
Yeah, one. I got one. With the rise in I know this is not possible right now, but with the rise in the TGL, the new golf league, I like that. They should, what TGL should do? They should go around, they should tour, they should go to different places, and they should, have the simulator event to different places. I think it'd be cool to have one in Moody Center for me and all the other golf fans out there. They should tour around the whole country. They should do their little golf simulator events, with the best like some of the best golfers in the world, Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy. That would be really fun, and I think having it at Moody Center is very high-tech arena, really new. I think it'll be cool to have it there. That's a little out of the box, but I just put it out there.
TGL, that would be pretty cool. It'd be interesting to see how they would do it, but, bring it to the Moody Center. Grabiel?
I'm gonna have to go with a little something different. Let's get an aquatic type of theme park here. Let's bring like Shamu to the middle of the Moody Center. That would be something, right? If we had Shamu doing flips around in the middle of the Moody Center, a bunch of dolphins, a bunch of different sea life here. I mean, SeaWorld's like what, an hour and a half away, an hour away down in San Antonio. I think we can make some accommodations to get Shamu here to the middle of the Moody Center.
Have they ever done, you know, a SeaWorld or Shamu type event in a stadium before that doesn't typically do aquatic events? That would be awesome. Hey, Austin is an innovative city, and new things have always been coming to Austin in the past couple of decades. Why not do that for the first time in Austin? So, moving on now, the Pro Bowl games are coming up, and it's a great opportunity to see the world's best football players show off all of their individual skills in one weekend. If you can participate in this year's competitions in flag football games with the attributes of current or former NFL players, whose attributes are you using to win and why?
I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson. He has speed. He has the hands. He could be really all around for anything, any competition in the Pro Bowl. He's a jack of all trades. He's able to adapt to a lot of things. He had to deal with Kirk Cousins throwing him the ball at the beginning of his career. So if he could do that, he could do anything. So I'm going to have to go with Justin Jefferson.
I mean, can't go wrong right there. Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver in all the NFL right now.
I would love to play with the skills of the greatest Swiss Army knife to ever play college football, Tavon Austin. I mean, if you're playing flag football, you need to be elusive, you need to be fast, and it helps to have a short frame to help avoid defenders. That is Tavon Austin to a T. If you look at Pro Bowl flag football, hell, even their dodgeball, I think Tavon Austin would be amazing for that. I would absolutely love to see Tavon Austin type player play in a Pro Bowl flag football game.
Shout out to the greatest college highlight reel of all time, Tavon Austin.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Megatron. I wanna have just the jump ball ability. I wanna moss people. I wanna have fun. I wanna head top people. I think that'll be fun. I think Megatron I think one of the saddest endings of career. I feel like he could have gone on for so much longer. Just a short career, and I would love to play as Megatron, have his attributes, have his just jump ball ability, just have fun out there, and I just play some backyard football with Calvin Johnson. I think that'd be super fun.
Calvin Johnson, kind of from when I started watching pro football, the first best receiver in all of the league that I kind of was recognizing. And obviously there's been just as good of receivers that have been playing since his prime, but that was the first one. I was like, Megatron, Calvin Johnson, he's the best in the league. That's who I thought was the best when I started watching. Now, okay, going on to our final question of the night. I would love y'all's input on this. With the crossover of the college football playoffs and the NFL season, there have been lots of talks about ways to fix the overlap so that game days don't conflict, or weekends don't conflict. The commissioners of the CFP and NFL have even agreed to meet to discuss possible solutions. If you were to suggest a major resolution to these commissioners to make both of these playoffs and overlaps better, what would you suggest?
I think it's pretty simple. You keep college football all on Saturday, you keep the NFL on Sunday. Why not? I mean, I understand there's different scheduling and whatever, but college football is meant to play on Saturdays. College football is a Saturday sport. I think that's just what's meant to be. I don't know what else to say. I mean, NFL is Sundays, and networks and whatever. I think NFL and college football they just got to work it out. I mean, all the contracts. I don't know the specific contracts and all that, how that works, but college football needs to be on Saturday. I think having all the college football games on Saturday would be super cool. I think having all the games on Sunday, just how it's supposed to be. I think it's pretty simple, really.
So Saturday, Sunday, no matter what.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
Give me Friday night lights for college football. I think that the easiest way to solve this is 2 college football games on Friday night, 2 college football games on Saturday night, and then NFL can put 1 or 2 games on Saturday morning, early afternoon. This way, college football games are all played under the lights. They're all played at their own time. They have their own schedule to be watched. No one is going to be watching the NFL while college football is on if it's a big matchup at night. The NFL obviously gets all of Sunday to itself, as it's always been, but this way college football gets its own time, and it gets the best time possible for it, and the NFL gets, you know, Saturday and then all of Sunday for it, which is what the NFL is known for.
Okay, so kind of what Colin said, just like, or Nolan said, but like shifting the games up a day.
Half the game, so half the game Saturday night, half the game's Friday night.
Right. Where you have so half the college on Saturday, half on Friday.
And then some, or an NFL game on
Sprinkled on Saturday.
Afternoon.
Okay, and Sunday.
On Friday night.
What?
And
all of Sunday. NFL all Sunday, and then a game or
so
two on
kind
Saturday.
of spreading it out amongst the weekend a little bit more. Grabiel?
I don't think there's anything wrong with the NFL playoffs. To be exact, the NFL playoffs is it's perfect as it is right now. My real big issue is, though, why is the college football season ending on January 20th? And next year is going to be like the 19th or whatever, the 21st. That's too late into January. These games need to be, the national champion needs to be decided like either at the beginning of the new year, which is when everybody's eyes are on college football, or just after that, like it was with the 14 playoff. We need to move these games back. You know, there's no reason. I think the biggest thing is that there's no reason for us to be playing 3 or 4 cupcake games in the middle of September. We could cut out 2 of those weeks and have conference games starting earlier. So I think that adjusting the college football schedule to shorten the regular season, these guys, if you're playing the national championship, you're playing 16, 17 games. That's too much for these college guys. They're already getting worn out. That's probably what happened to Texas once they got to the Cotton Bowl, right? But it's like they need to figure out a way to shorten the regular season, move everything up earlier into the year, so that way the national champion is not getting decided by January 20th and nobody's really interested, because it's like college football is supposed to be over by now.
So you want to move up the season or cut games?
Either or, like you could start the season earlier, like more in the middle of August compared to the end, or you can cut out 1 or 2 of those cupcake games. Like nobody needs to be seeing Alabama play Mercer in the middle of November. Like we don't need that.
I think that's more of an SEC thing, you know, scheduling
catching strings.
Non-conferences.
Well, I mean,
but
Big Ten plays like Arkansas State.
But those are all some great answers. Y'all made this one very, very hard. I'm going to total this up, but as I do so, we are going to end with a tie tonight, and I have a tiebreaker question.
Oh my goodness.
Our tie is between Nolan and Grabiel. So, here's my tiebreaker question. You've watched the Super Bowl. It's coming up. You've watched it y'all's entire lives. You've watched the Super Bowl your entire lives. Tell me the best Super Bowl halftime performance of all time and why.
I know I'm gonna go with a little obscure one. I think when I look at, you know, from the best Super Bowl halftime shows of all time, I look at this and that. I'm gonna go one with just legendary. The one in LA. You know, you got Kendrick Lamar there. You got Eminem doing this thing. Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre. Like, that was legendary. You had just, like, I remember, like, that night on social media. That night was popping on social media. Everyone was loving it. I think it was legendary. There were so many statements made, just like, hip-hop legends all on the stage at once. That was just, when I remember that night, I feel like that was, like, just super magical watching that. And I just remember that night, and it was amazing. I mean, just 5 legends. What can you say?
Dr. Dre, Kendrick Lamar, Eminem.
I don't think Kendrick Lamar was even there, because he's doing the one this year.
He was there.
Was he?
At the dock point right there.
All right. Well, I obviously do not pay attention to the halftime show, especially the one last year. That one was pretty terrible. The only one that actually popped into mind was the Katy Perry one in 2014 with the shark in the background. That was very, very off-putting, like he was dancing really wrong. I just remember that one mainly because of the shark, but I think she like rode in on a fake tiger and stuff like that. So that was probably the sickest one I remember from my childhood.
That was also an iconic one, and I was hoping either one of y'all would say that one too. But I can only dish out one winner tonight on the episode. And our first winner of the College Crossfire season is Nolan Clay. Do we have time for FaceTime and some applause?
Sure.
We have time? All right.
Take it away.
All right. You know, I'm a little surprised by that. I thought I choked it at the end right there. I thought Grabiel had it with Katy Perry. I thought of doing Katy Perry, but I thought that my answer, I liked my answer. Going off of that, I'm so excited for winning this. Shout out to my parents, who I think are watching right now. Shout out Jordan Spieth and Scotty Scheffler. I'm going to watch you guys play tomorrow at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. And, yeah, I'm excited to win.
Well, thank you so much to all three of our contestants, Nolan, Colin, Grabiel. Y'all made this one super close. I know I say that every show, but this is probably one of the closest ones I've had. You know, 26, 26, 22. I don't remember when all three contestants ended up in the 20s. I don't remember when that's happened at all this year. So great job to all of y'all for keeping things close. Congrats to you again, Nolan. That's going to wrap things up at TSTV. Thank you to everyone who makes this show possible, from the contestants to the in-studio personnel, all the people in Master Control, especially our executive producer, Tyler Moss, who works so hard to make this show come to life. And to you, the audience, thanks for tuning in. Remember to watch our other shows, the 1-0 Sports Show on Friday and College Press Box on Tuesday. Signing off in the studio, I'm your host, Robert Gonsolin. Have a good night.